Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and it is time for another edition of Angel Sudsy Recap, where we delve into the world of daytime television and we do a few reality shows on the side. Um, and one of the reality shows that we're doing is, of course, Below Deck, and they just had their reunion for the season. But before I get into that, I got a haircut. I'm trying something a little different. I parted on the right instead of parting to the left. Like anyone out there even cares, but I just thought I would say that, I would, we'll, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I might not like it and I might go right back to parting it on the left. We'll whatever. Okay. So Below Deck, normally, or at least the natural progression of the show would be for them to have a big, fierce reunion like they did 2 seasons ago, which is what, season three? Yeah, season three, Rocky, that season. Um, they had a great reunion. It was on its set. It was, hosted by Andy. It was great, right? Because, previously they had done reunions, but they were Watch What Happens Live reunions, which they were all in the clubhouse, and, you know, um, the production value isn't as good. So they kind of went backwards, and they did another one of those. So, in my mind, it wasn't like a full on, reunion. I think the only time they've ever done a Housewives reunion at the clubhouse was the Housewives of Miami. Their reunion was in the clubhouse. But all the other ones that they've done reunions for, they've always been on set. So that's kind of weird. Oh my God, thank goodness that bubble was just sitting in my fucking chest forever. I thought it was going to kill me. Okay. So they did the reunion, and here, first of all, let me just tell you, nobody was too pleased with Nico. Unfortunately, I really wish Andy would have um, held Nico's feet to the fire a little bit, because because basically, if you pay attention, his douchebaggery happened before the death of his brother, way before. It was back when Kelly was bosun, and he was a dick to Kelly, you know. Um, and he's never had to answer for that ever. So it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, um, I would have asked him about that, because he, um, said, I saw the way that I acted, and I'm very disappointed in myself, and blah, blah, blah. And he was totally trying so, because Andy was asking him about his relationship with Melissa on land, and he was like, we broke up, and basically Andy got it out of him that the reason why they broke up was because of how he was carrying on with Bree on camera. Okay, let's pause. Why on earth? Why on earth, if you've got someone back home, would you cheat on them with someone on the boat? I mean, what? Uh, it was just slimy. It was just slimy. And the way that, and then also the way that, once he was done with her, he was like, and I just missed her and I wanted to get back with Melissa. And now you're just going to throw Bree over? Now, in all fairness, it's not as bad as cheating on Melissa is, because, Bree at least went into the relationship knowing he had a girlfriend, and, if he cheats with you, he will cheat on you. That's what Oprah always says. Um, but I'll tell you who was the most sick of Nico's shit, and this kind of surprised me. Captain Lee. Now, it doesn't surprise me that he is on top of things, but it surprises me because we haven't really heard Captain Lee talk too bad about Nico. He has said some things, but they weren't like getting mad at someone because of their personal choices. It's more about the professionalism. Like he was very hard on Kelly, but he, gets along great with Kelly. They work out together all the time. You know, um, I think that, he was hard on Nico because he saw potential in Nico and wanted Nico to achieve that potential. But then once he saw what a child he was pissed. He was like, I made the biggest mistake when I promoted you. I shouldn't have promoted you. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have promoted you. So here's what I'm taking away from this. I bet you. Now, I don't know what kind of contract that Captain Lee signs with 51 Minds, the production company. I don't know. But it's probably for a multi-year deal for various seasons of the show, okay? But what I will tell you this, I guarantee you that when it comes time to renew his contract, he will be asking for the daily footage. For sure. Watch, I guarantee. And then you will not see any of this sneaking around shit behind Captain Lee's back. He will not be having any of that. Watch. I guarantee you that's exactly what's going to happen. And you know what? Good. He should. That's exactly. Amen. And I don't feel bad for the crews, whether it's the ones that have already happened or the ones in the future, because you go on a reality show, it's going to be taped, so who cares who watches it, right? If you're acting the way you would normally act, then who cares if anyone watches? So that was one thing. And then another thing was, I felt bad for Kate. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Kate, and Kate is one of my favorite people on the series. Like, she's been on the show since season 2. She's fantastic, And I'm waiting to see a Kate and Hannah from Below Deck Med. I would love to see them be head stews on a boat together. I think that they would. I think it would be fabulous if they did like a girl power and they had Captain Sandy with Kate and Hannah switching up who's the chief stew every other charter. And they had like a deck crew with like Janice and was that her name? Janice, was that her name? The one that Kelly dated? I think so. Connie, I love Connie. Like if they just had an all women crew, that would be total girl power. I would actually really like to see that. Bravo, make that happen. And they could go somewhere like the Below Deck South Pacific, or Below Deck Asia, or somewhere else besides the Med or the Caribbean, right? Below Deck Florida Keys, whatever. Who knows? Okay. So the reason why I said I feel bad for Kate is I just felt like she spent a lot of time being angry this season, and I don't necessarily fault her for that, because I felt like the deck was sort of stacked against her. She had the greenest crew she's ever had, right? And she also had to deal with a chef who was not on top of his game. Let's put it that way. The very end of the reunion, they talked about Matt and his cooking, and I don't think Matt will be back on the boat, to be honest with you. Okay, so I just felt, and then if you add on top of that, Bruno, who's on the deck crew, who was criticizing the interior, I mean, I would be pissed off all the time too, to be honest with you. I would. So in that aspect, I do feel bad for her, because I felt like, because in previous seasons, people who work for her have said, oh, Kate is such a bitch and blah, blah, blah. But I don't really see that. But I can definitely see how this season people would be getting sick of that. Right? I mean, but the people getting sick of it, it was deserved in some areas. Like, I mean, I would be a bitch to them too, apparently, according to both Jen and Kate, they are actually good friends off the boat, and they got along fine. And Kate said she'd rather work with Jen again than Rocky. Well, that's good. That's great, But she says, I feel like Jen would, her best, that yachting is not for her, and that her talents lie in a different industry. And you know what? I agree with that. It's kind of like how Danny was on Below Deck Med. You know, he was not a good deckhand, but at the same time, you're thinking, he would be a good club promoter. Like, he would do a really good job at that. That is something that would be in his wheelhouse, you know. Kate said the same thing about Bruno. She wouldn't want to work with Bruno again, but she said she would want to. She said that he definitely could be a stew, which, obviously she thinks that's harder work than being a deckhand, and maybe it might be more taxing, for sure. I don't know if it's harder work per se. I mean, deckhand is probably harder physical labor, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that the interior has to do. I kind of go back and forth, um, so Bruno was on, but he was only on via Skype because he had some sort of visa issues. So he had. Here's what I don't. I mean. Maybe because they paid everyone else and they would have to pay Bruno, and maybe, Bravo or 51 Minds or whoever was just too cheap to get him out on a temporary working visa or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems kind of. And maybe that might be why Andy never has the Melbourne or Cheshire or Auckland housewives on because of visa issues. But he should still be talking about those shows. Even if he doesn't have any of the people ever on, he should still be talking to them. So that's a little frustrating, But I digress. He's marrying some man, apparently, but he's like, well, you can call me gay if you want, but I don't like labels. So it's like, okay. But what surprised me the most is that everyone was coming hard for Kyle. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely see that there was tension between Kyle and Jen, and I definitely see that there was some tension between Kyle and Kate, which broke my heart. That was so sad. I really wish they would get along. I really love it. I hate it when mommy and daddy fight. Excuse me. It's all just coming out now. Okay, so, but for someone who was on the boat on such a relatively short period of time, I think he was on like maybe 2 charters towards the end, which is like, what, 3 days? They were really pissed off at him. I mean, and they were getting mad at him for having opinions. I mean, it's a reality show. We care what everyone on the show thinks, right? And B, like when Kate had that meeting. And now, hold on. Let me rewind real quick. In that meeting, on television, we saw her ask, "Does anyone have any issues with the deck crew?" Now, Kyle fucked up by not talking about this to Jen or Kate beforehand, even though he didn't mention Jen. And that was kind of a bad thing, too, because by not mentioning Jen's name when he said that shit doesn't get done, Kate is going to take that personally because she's in charge of the interior. So, but she asked for it. She asked for the feedback. So, I just feel like anytime, Kyle gave an opinion that was, contrary to what other people thought, they would be pissed off at him, which is just kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Because would you rather have Chris Brown on it? Would you rather have Dane the drunk? Would you rather... I mean, there's so many worse deckhands out there than Kyle. You know what I mean? If he was only on for 3 days... I mean, I don't know. That didn't make that much sense to me. But maybe a lot went on behind the scenes that we don't see. And I'm totally saying, that's possible. Who knows? Anyways, it was a good season. Below Deck Med starts up, I think, in February, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of going to change it up a little bit with the Sudsy recaps. I've got a good one coming up at the end of January, so I'm not quite sure if the Housewives of Atlanta will stick around or not. But anyways, Please feel free to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Angel Benton. You can hashtag Below Deck to talk Below Deck, or you can also hashtag Days to talk Days of Our Lives. And you can hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel to get my YouTube videos sent to your email inbox every single day. Thank you for logging on, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Peace out. Wubba, wubba, wubba.